After visiting 82 cities across Europe, we've noticed that the ones that stick with us aren't always the most famous ones.
Yeah, you don't often see them on lists or on the must-dos, but there was something about them that had a vibe, the food, the people, that just made us feel at home.
It's the type of place that makes you realize travel isn't just about checking off a list. It's about the moments that make you stop or see a place differently or just make you want to explore somewhere a little longer.
So, here are our 9 most underrated European cities that are actually worth traveling to.
Madrid doesn't always get the attention it deserves. Most people go straight to Barcelona or Seville, but Madrid's the kind of city that sneaks up on you. It's not about one big landmark, it's the energy, the late night dinners, the laughter echoing through the streets, the sunlight of the old stone buildings.
It's a city that really knows how to live. You've got these huge parks right in the middle of everything, so much history around every corner, and the kind of bars that spill into the street with people talking and music playing until way too late.
What makes Madrid special is how local it still feels. The markets aren't just for tourists. You'll see locals buying produce, shopkeepers chatting across the stalls, friends meeting for a quick beer before work. Even when it's busy, it feels real.
And it's beautiful without even trying. The architecture, the plazas, the light, it all just works together in a really natural way.
If you want a city that feels lived in, not like staged, where you can just sink into everyday life, Madrid is the one. Shkodër is one of those places that makes you wonder how more people don't know about it. It's tucked up in northern Albania, surrounded by mountains and lakes, and it has this calm, creative energy that just pulls you in.
It feels really small, but full of life. You'll see people biking everywhere, cafes packed with locals, and a mix of Ottoman and Italian-style buildings that tell a story of how many cultures have passed through here.
The views are incredible too. Lake Shkodër stretching out on one side and the Albanian Alps rising up on the other. You can hike up to Rozafa Castle for a view that makes you feel like you're standing inside a painting.
What really stands out is how genuine it feels. There's no rush, no pressure to be somewhere else. Just good food, kind people, and a sense that life moves at its own pace here.
If you want somewhere that still feels off the radar, a city where mountain air meets Mediterranean charm, Shkodër should be on your list. Ljubljana might be one of the most charming capitals in Europe, and somehow it still flies under the radar. It's small, colorful, and instantly welcoming. The kind of place where you show up for a weekend and end up wishing you had a week.
Not to mention the old town is straight out of a storybook. You've got the castle up on the hill, bridges lined with flowers, and dragons everywhere. They're kind of the city's mascot. And the whole center is car-free, so people can just walk, bike, hang out by the river with a drink.
It's a city that's easy to love, but hard to define. You can spend the morning exploring art galleries, then be surrounded by mountains or lakes an hour later. There are so many great day trips, from Lake Bled to the vineyards of Vipava Valley.
And the food scene really surprised us. It's super international, a mix of Italian, Balkan, and Central European flavors, plus tons of cozy cafes and wine bars.
Ljubljana has this mix of calm and creativity that's hard to find anywhere else. It's small but full of personality, and honestly, one of Europe's best kept secrets.
Bratislava doesn't usually make it onto most European itineraries, which is kind of wild once you see it. It's small, colorful, and full of personality, sitting right on the Danube halfway between Vienna and Budapest.
It's a city that keeps surprising you. The old town is charming and walkable, but just outside it you'll find these bold, slightly odd Soviet-era buildings that remind you how close Slovakia once sat to the Iron Curtain. It gives this city a really unique mix of old and new. What makes Bratislava great is how relaxed it feels. You can see a lot without ever feeling rushed. One minute you're wandering the narrow streets, the next you're sitting by the river with a drink, watching the boats go by.
The food scene is fun too. It mixes traditional Slovak spots with cool modern restaurants and wine bars. Plus, it's way more affordable than most European capitals. And where else can you get a huge bread bowl full of garlic soup? Just maybe don't plan on kissing anyone after.
Bratislava doesn't try to impress you, it just quietly wins you over. It's a little quirky, totally authentic, and one of those places that sticks with you long after you've left. Mostar is one of those cities that stops you in your tracks. The old bridge gets most of the attention, and it's easy to see why, but it's everything around it that makes the city special.
There's something about hearing the call to prayer echo through the valley, watching the locals dive into the river, and smelling the food that makes the city feel so alive.
The city's history is layered. You can feel the mix of Ottoman, Austro-Hungarian, and Balkan influences in the architecture and the food, and even with all those influences, it still feels completely its own. You can still feel the city's recent history too. The scars from the war are visible, but what stands out most is how generous people are with their stories. Locals talk openly about what happened, not in a heavy way, but with this quiet strength that's really moving.
It's the kind of place that reminds you travel isn't just about pretty views. It's about people. Mostar is beautiful, yes, but it's resilient and warmth that stays with you.
It's a small city with a big heart. That's Mostar. Tirana is not for everyone, but it is for us. And it might be one of the most surprising cities on this list. A few years ago, it wasn't really on anyone's radar, and now it's this bold, colorful capital that feels completely its own.
It's got this mix of old and new that just somehow works. Bright buildings painted every color you can imagine, old communist blocks turned into cafe and galleries, and locals who seem genuinely excited to see their city changing.
There's still so much history here too. You'll find bunkers from the communist era next to trendy bars and museums that tell Albania's story with honesty and pride. It's a reminder of how fast this place has transformed.
But it's the energy that's contagious. Cafes spill into sidewalks, the markets are full of life, and the food, a mix of Mediterranean, Balkan, and Italian, is seriously underrated.
No, actually the food was so good. Tirana is messy, but in the best way. It's creative and chaotic, so full of heart. It's the kind of city that makes you feel like you found something real before everyone else catches on. Lille doesn't usually make the list when people think of France, and honestly, that's what makes it so great. It's got all the charm of Paris, but way fewer crowds and way more personality. Lille is one of those cities that doesn't need to try too hard. It's elegant, but down to earth. A place where grand architecture meets cozy cafes and art spills into the streets.
It's tucked right in between France and Belgium, and you can feel both the influences everywhere. The buildings are colorful and ornate, the people are actually friendly, and there's always the smell of something warm and buttery coming from a bakery nearby.
What makes Lille special is its mix of culture and comfort. You can spend the morning wandering through museums or vintage shops, then end up at a local bistro with a plate of frites and melted cheese. It's a city that knows how to do comfort food.
We actually did do a food tour here, so if you want to see what we ate, check that video out. Lille also has a small but mighty nightlife scene. Dance parties spill out onto the streets with groups of young people holding beers and cigarettes, eager to practice their English and have a little chat.
It's not flashy or overhyped, just effortlessly cool. Lille feels lived in and real. The kind of place that quietly wins you over one pastry and one late night combo at a time.
I know, Budapest shows up on lots of travel lists, and this is supposed to be an underrated list, but hear me out. Budapest has so many sides. You could go 7 different weekends and have 7 completely different trips. And I'm here to convince you to do the underrated stuff.
It's a city full of contrasts. Buda on one side, Pest on the other, hills and castles facing off with ruin bars, street art, and thermal baths that feel straight out of another century.
And even if you've seen the photos, nothing compares to standing on the river at night with the parliament glowing in the light. But what really makes Budapest special isn't just the big views, it's all the little moments in between.
Like sitting in a ruin bar covered in mismatched furniture and fairy lights, surrounded by locals who make you feel like you've stumbled into the city's living room, or finding a quiet cafe that serves goulash so good it ruins you for all others.
Budapest is elegant but gritty, historic but creative, and way too cool to skip just because it's popular. The secret is to see it differently, and once you do, it easily earns a spot on the list.
Groningen is one of those cities that almost no one outside of the Netherlands talks about, and that's exactly why we love it. It's lively, local, and full of surprises.
It's not Amsterdam, and that's a good thing. You still get the canals, the bikes, the charm, but without the chaos. It feels more personal, more real, like you're seeing everyday Dutch life.
It's a student city, so the energy's young and creative. The old brick buildings and clock towers mix with bold, modern architecture and street art, and somehow it all just fits.
It also has one of our favorite museums in all of Europe. And not because it's big, but because of its heart. The exhibits feel personal and thoughtful, and it captures that same mix of creativity and sincerity that the whole city has.
And when the sun goes down, Groningen really comes alive. Bars packed with locals and students, music spilling into the streets, everyone just out to have a really good time.
It might not be on your radar, but that's exactly what makes it special. It's friendly, creative, and quietly full of life. It's the kind of city that makes you wonder how it's a secret.
Europe's full of places like this. Cities that don't make the headlines, but completely steal your heart once you find them.
If this list did anything, we hope it reminded you that sometimes the best adventures start where the crowds aren't.
So here's to the underrated ones, the cities that surprise you, stay with you, and make you fall in love with travel all over again.
Let us know in the comments which city you think deserves more love, or which hidden gem we should add to our next trip. And if you enjoyed this one, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next.
Bye, besties!